Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday Vance announced he would be making a trip to Greenland on Friday. So happening in 2 days, Vance is going to be on the ground in Greenland. They are talking about going to a dog sled race, but more importantly, there's going to be some political stuff discussed behind the scenes. I'm sure that's the main reason Vance is going, to really give a more positive U.S. picture to the people of Greenland. And we've discussed at length right now the people of Greenland not too excited the idea of them joining the U.S. as a territory, but this is all going to be done diplomatically through the United States negotiating with the government of Greenland when it comes to the amount we invest onto their island, possibly giving the citizens of Greenland money as well as other factors. We know how important Greenland is in terms of Arctic control for Donald Trump. And Trump also knows for his legacy how big of a coup this would be. It's so unique. He realizes it. His advisors are telling him, this is crazy. You've got Greenland with only 57,000 people with how big it is, and you have the change in terms of how valuable it's going to be in the future, the top experts say, and you have all the rare earth elements, otherwise known as rare earths. You've also got large deposits of gold, of diamond, as well as iron ore and uranium. So this is a huge, huge thing. And you're talking about maybe 5 billion, maybe 10 billion. Trump's already made that much in revenue off of just the gold cards alone. He's got investment, foreign investment into the United States. It's about $3 trillion right now. A lot of it coming from the Middle East, some of it coming from Taiwan. This is all great news, but how is this going to happen, and how can we do this in a way where it's a win-win for everyone outside of Denmark? And really, Denmark has no say because Greenland is going to separate from Denmark, but how do we really fast-track this situation to get it done under Trump? Well, that's why Vance is going. This is not normal. You get a VP to go to Greenland at this point, to where the government of Greenland is saying, we don't want you to come here. Trump said, well, no, they invited us. I'm sure there were some officials within Greenland that probably wanted the Trump administration to visit, but the point of it is Trump is moving on Greenland. He wants there to be a dialogue started now. They had their elections. The party that won, the party that came in first and second place, both of those parties are parties that want Greenland to become independent of Denmark. And most of those citizens do. It's like 70-30, 80-20 in all the opinion polls. Now, they also don't want to join the United States, but that's before we've given them an offer and we've given them an ultimatum to join the U.S. easy way or the hard way. But we're going to be very nice about this, I think, with Trump and what he wants to do. And we could just take it over if we wanted, but we don't want to do that. We want to have good relations with Europe, even if we do leave NATO. And so we're going to do this diplomatically. And this is something that has to be done for security. Now you've got Tulsi Gabbard and some of the other high-ups saying that, well, China's been encroaching. It's getting really bad. The fear-mongering, you need to instill that into the Americans' minds, the people of Greenland. This is very important propaganda that China and Russia are moving on Greenland. I mean, China's already doing it through Belt and Road. They're trying to gain significant influence over the Arctic, and they view Greenland as kind of like the sweet spot with the uniqueness of the island, with how big the island is, with how important and valuable the island is becoming, and with how small the population is. So you offer them money, they need defense. They're not getting adequate defense from Denmark. We know that, so JD Vance is going there. And this just demonstrates the dire situation when it comes to Denmark's supposed defense of Greenland. You see this headline, this was Christmas Eve, Denmark ramps up security and calls in sled dogs in Greenland after Trump threatens takeover. So Denmark was going to defend Greenland, I guess, against the United States with sled dog teams. And so this is just how ridiculous these European countries are. The EU is. I've talked about the influence the EU has over the people of Greenland and why there's this negative thought of Trump. If this was a liberal president possibly trying to take over Greenland, they would probably be treated a lot better. That's just EU influence over Greenland. It is unfortunate, but this is a situation to where American citizens, Greenlanders, they have to realize this is all going to be done. It can be done very simply. We can offer the people of Greenland infrastructure and a mining operation. And this is like Alaska 2.0 in a sense, to where Greenland joins the United States. We start mining there, And in a deal to where we acquire the territory, they still get some form of autonomy in terms of their leadership and their rule, but they are a U.S. territory, and we get full access to the land in terms of military bases, in terms of strategical importance up in the Arctic. We get access to all of that. We also get the mining on the coast. You've got all this stuff. We've got a map right here of just the raw mineral deposits, and there's a ton of them all along the coast. You've got the inland ice. You get some of that ice melt. More of this is going to be exposed. Now you're talking 10, 20, 30 trillion dollars worth of raw minerals and rare earth elements. The rare earths, it is very, very impressive. Critical raw mineral deposits all on the southern tip of Greenland. And that's where the rare earth elements are, and they're all along the coasts. And these are areas that are suitable for mining. They get warm enough, especially in the summer. Still pretty cold in the winter, there's no doubt about it. But those are all areas that are more suitable for mining operations and setting it up. And so there's a thing to where you extract minerals and the people of Greenland get a cut. That wouldn't really happen in a deal with the EU because they don't have the infrastructure to be able to invest, or they don't have the money to be able to invest in infrastructure to be able to set up a mining operation like that, like the United States could. So the offer to the people of Greenland is, we can offer the citizens money because there's only 57,000 citizens, and we can say we're going to set up and invest significant mining infrastructure and just overall infrastructure, because there's also going to be people moving in. It's going to stimulate the economy. It's going to help everyone out. And then maybe down the line, just like Alaska, they go from a territory to a state. And if they do end up getting 300,000 or 400,000 people, with many Americans moving there, that's what it would be, presumably. The state would be probably 60-40 conservative. Right now, it's very liberal. It's just a EU thing. It is what it is. These are all native people anyways. But we have to understand, I think it would be an Alaska type situation to be a 60% conservative state, and you'd get like 3 or 4 electoral votes, whatever, if it became a state. But that's down the line. We don't have to worry about that for the next 20, 30 years. It's all about having a foothold in the Arctic and having a presence within the Northwest Passage, along with all of the rare earths and the access to the uranium, the access to the elements, the access to, those rare earths. You're able to make significant strides in terms of renewable energy technology if you're able to mine those rare earths, along with military application and other things like that when it comes to being able to use those elements. So this is something that we know needs to happen, but we have to get the people of Greenland on America's side. You get the government on the side. The government, we're going to give them a good deal, but the people as well. The people of Greenland, it's like 40-50%. You get them on, and it'll be easier to get this done. And you could have referendums, you could do whatever, or it could just be a straight, we're going to purchase you, and your government's going to agree to it because they're getting a good deal. But we want a sped up process here. Okay, and I think JD Vance is going there. We want this to be sped up. We want this to happen under Trump. This is not something where it's like a 10-year thing and we hope Vance ends up winning, or like some liberal gets some credit down the line for buying it. We don't want that. We want this done under Trump. And the people of Greenland do want to be independent of Denmark, but they're moving at a slow rate. And the big question is, well, how are they going to be independent as a country, but be able to be self-sufficient without the money coming in from Denmark? Or is it maybe a bigger economic deal with the EU or with the UK or with the United States or with NATO in general, which I don't think would be very wise considering the turbulence within NATO right now. I think it just comes down to the United States making a play, and we've been the most aggressive in terms of Greenland based on where their location. This is a North American country. It is 100%. Look at a map. Look at the geography of it. It's right to the east of Nunavut. It is basically North America. Okay, it's a lot more North American than it is European. Now, sure, because of the EU situation and the entanglement with Denmark, and also because of with Canada, I mean, there's a lot of liberal people up there. Just if it infects Greenland, that's why a lot of Greenlanders are anti-Trump. But this is all something that can be changed as long as we get the propaganda out, as long as we get a good deal for the people of Greenland, and we're able to do this in a clean way. And you say, well, it's a $5 billion investment. I mean, the thing is, there's going to have to be a big investment into Greenland. I don't know if you do an initial big investment, but eventually there's going to have to be a large operation that gets set up in terms of being able to unearth some of these minerals. But that could be down the line. You might just want to buy it and get a foothold within the Arctic to secure your spot in the Arctic. Minimum, you have Greenland because you've also got Alaska. But then you also potentially want the territories in Canada so you can get the full Northwest Passage. So that's really what I think Trump wants in terms of the Arctic Empire. But this is like the first step. And that's why I said this is so much more likely than Canada for so many reasons. The population, the fact that they're already owned by another country that they want to be independent from, the fact that they can't support themselves sufficiently, the fact that they don't have a military. I mean, there are so many reasons why. And also the fact that the United States is willing to invest into Greenland, unlike Denmark. And of course, that's where the argument would come in. Well, what if the EU gives some type of offer? And so that's why Trump needs to be aggressive, and he is aggressive, and he is moving forward. And I think this is going to end up happening. It may take some time, but JD Vance visiting there, it's very obvious that some of the officials there within Greenland are not too happy about this because this is a political visit to try and spur talks. But the question is, how do you really force this to go through? Because right now they seem to be moving very slowly in terms of them separating from Denmark. This needs to happen faster, I think, is what Trump wants. So how do you get this to happen faster without a show of aggression against Greenland? Is it a visit? It seems like right now they're trying to test the waters on what it's going to take to really get this thing, I guess, get the proverbial ball rolling, if you will. And so maybe the visit, we'll see if that does it. If that doesn't work, maybe there's a more aggressive approach that's taken in a few months, depending. Because remember, Don Jr. went there as a propaganda tour with some others back about 2.5 months ago at this point in early January. And so they visited it, and then, you get the whole, there's like 30 people. They're like, yeah, we want to be part of America, but it's propaganda. Most of them don't, at least not right now. But we need to present Greenland with a proposal, with an offer, and we can start having negotiations. But it's this fine line of you have to get it moving, because there's not a big effort from Greenland to join the United States. So there has to be something that kickstarts it. And so that we're trying to find the variable that'll kickstart it without showing aggression. So it's a fine line that you're you're trying to walk a tightrope here in getting Greenland to, because I mean, Trump wants it. He does. He wants it. He wanted it in 2019. He kind of said it as a joke, like later in his term, and he thought he was going to win in 2020, and then he'd probably acquire it in his second term sometime in 2022 or 2023. But obviously, what happened in 2020, but now he's in. So, and he said, even when he was president-elect, he said, yeah, we want Greenland. We're going to look at it. And really, it's been full conversation, really, for like 3 straight months. Trump's mentioning Greenland every other week. Now he's mentioning it daily with JD Vance going there. Once JD Vance goes there, the dialogue is going to continue. It's only it's going to pick up, and it's going to force pressure onto Greenland. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to pressure Greenland into action to separate themselves from Denmark, or maybe we have to deal with Denmark, and it's 2 separate deals. One, we acquire Greenland from Denmark, so we give Denmark money, and then we have to do a deal with Greenland themselves. Although you could argue at that point, I mean, the problem is we're going to need control of the island to a certain degree to be able to mine, be able to set up more military bases, and have the Arctic foothold that we want. So there's going to be more American presence, significantly more American presence onto Greenland than there is Danish presence right now. Even though Denmark has territorial control of it, we have the military base on Greenland. And so, listen, we'll see what ends up happening. But I will say, when you look at this and you look at all the rare earths, and this is just the stuff to where the ice hasn't even melted, the inland ice, that is, the glacier, this could be an even bigger coup for Trump. And Trump knows that this is a huge legacy thing 15, 20, 30 years down the line, when we're mining and we're raking in trillions of dollars and the debt is getting destroyed because of this, and we've got full control now. China doesn't have total control over the renewable elements that are used, and how important that is in terms of car batteries and all the EVs and the smartphones. And when we've got control of that, and that's why Trump might have to do a deal with the Congo as well to get some control of the cobalt in the Congo. And these are big, big moves, not just for now, because now it's like, well, there's a period for Greenland to where it's like we acquire them, and then they become this territory, but we have to actually set things up to be able to make money off of Greenland. And also, you're not immediately going to see a significant return on investment in terms of us having a foothold in the Arctic. But once the Arctic becomes more and more important, that dominance that we have within Greenland and possibly within the Northwest Passage is going to be important. And Trump knows that 30, 40 years down the line, this is a legacy play for him. So that's why Greenland becomes very important. But that's just the current situation. I do think Trump obviously wants to move quicker on this. I think right now the real element to watch is there seems to be some pressure from the Trump administration with this visit from JD Vance to force action and maybe a separation of Greenland from Denmark. Greenland, their government officials, they're not happy. So if this doesn't work, what happens next? Is there going to have to be some type of exercise that's done possibly within the Davis Strait, which is southwest of Greenland, to potentially kickstart something to happen? I mean, we don't want it to go to that or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, they want stuff. I think Trump wants this to happen. And if you keep doing this to where, I mean, they said they want to be independent, they voted for it, but they're saying, well, now it's going to be a really slow process. It's not going to happen soon. I'm not sure Trump's too happy about that. But it's like, well, you want to kickstart this. You want to work with these people and you want this territory. But Trump is, in a word, like radioactive to the EU. And so it's very hard for him to deal with these people because they already have this negative feel and opinion of him. And so it's like, well, we have to kickstart this somehow. We're going to help you guys out. I think it's important that we tell them that we will help them out more than Denmark is tenfold. You know, it's not even close. So that's the most important thing. But you understand kind of the thing to where it has to get kickstart. The idea of us acquiring Greenland, it needs to be kickstarted. Maybe this JD Vance visit kickstarts it. Maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, I think there's going to be escalation to where you might have to do something else. I think they're trying to test the waters on what will kickstart this acquisition. But there also has to be an offer. You have to give them a formal offer and maybe make it public. And if worst case scenario, I mean, like, the thing is, you know, you send out like a military exercise onto Greenland just to control the island. That's something that could happen down the line. It wouldn't surprise me if that happened, and then people would lose their minds. But there's no war on Greenland unless NATO wants to have a war on Greenland. NATO's insane. I'm talking about the European countries in NATO, because they said, France said they wanted to send soldiers to defend NATO against the United States, but there wouldn't be a military situation on NATO. It would just be an occupation. They don't have an army. They're not allowed to have an army. They're not permitted to have an army via their relationship with Denmark. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but this is like the next step. Either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.